pirate's life was short, brutal, and usually ended on the gallows. So why did ships never run dry of recruits? Behind the laughter and rum lurk methods of recruitment darker than legend dares whisper. Life aboard a pirate ship was basically a death sentence with better pay. These weren't cruise ships sailing calm waters. They were floating disasters waiting to happen. Pirates died constantly. Storms would sweep men overboard without warning. Naval cannons turned crew members into red mist. Disease spread like wildfire in cramped quarters below deck. Then there were the smart ones who simply ran away. Can you blame them? When your ship docked at some remote island for supplies, plenty of pirates just vanished into the jungle. They'd rather take their chances with wild animals than face another sea battle. Others deserted during shore leave, disappearing into port towns with whatever coins they had in their pockets. But here's the thing about sailing ships. They're basically floating machines that need constant human power to function. Every rope, every sail, every cannon required experienced hands. You couldn't just grab some random fisherman and expect him to know the difference between a mainmast and a mizzen. Pirates needed men who could tie knots in a hurricane, patch holes while under fire, and climb rigging 50 feet above a pitching deck. The math was brutal. More crew meant smaller shares of treasure for everyone. Fewer crew meant your ship became an easy target for hunters or rival pirates. Finding that sweet spot was like walking a tightrope over shark-infested waters. Raids made everything worse. Every successful attack usually cost at least a few men. Sometimes pirates got lucky and overwhelmed merchant ships without a fight. More often, they faced desperate sailors fighting for their lives or well-armed naval escorts. Cutlass wounds, musket balls, and flying splinters claimed victims on both sides. Weather played its own deadly game. The Caribbean might look like paradise, but those same waters that sparkled blue could turn murderous in minutes. Hurricanes didn't care if you were a feared pirate captain or a trembling cabin boy. Lightning strikes could kill instantly. Massive waves could snap masts like twigs, crushing anyone underneath. The isolation made recruitment nearly impossible through normal means. When you're weeks from the nearest port, you can't exactly post job advertisements. Pirates sailed vast stretches of ocean where the only other humans were potential targets or enemies hunting them down. Every empty spot on the crew roster meant more work for survivors and less firepower during fights. Pirates learned quickly that finding new blood wasn't just about replacing the dead. It was about survival itself. The question wasn't whether they needed fresh crew members, but where they'd find them and how they'd convince them to join this floating circus of danger and opportunity. Not every pirate crew member ended up there by accident or force. Plenty of sailors actively chose the pirate life, and their reasons weren't always what you'd expect. The promise of treasure played a huge role, obviously. Regular merchant sailors earned fixed wages that barely covered basic needs. Pirates? They worked on shares. Every raid meant a potential payday that could set a man up for life. Word traveled fast through port taverns about crews who struck it rich. When desperate sailors heard stories of pirates splitting hundreds of pieces of 8 after a single successful raid, signing up seemed like the smartest gamble around. But here's the thing. Money wasn't the only draw. Life aboard merchant ships was brutal beyond belief. Captains ruled like tyrants, flogging sailors for minor mistakes. Food was rotten, conditions were terrible, and crew members had zero say in anything. Pirates offered something revolutionary: freedom. Most pirate ships operated more like floating democracies than the dictatorships sailors knew everywhere else. Crew members voted on major decisions. They could voice complaints without getting whipped. The weird part is that this lawless life actually gave ordinary men more rights than legitimate employment ever did. Then there's the fact that both navies and merchant companies treated their men like disposable property. Naval press gangs would kidnap sailors off the streets, forcing them into years of unpaid service. Merchant captains abandoned sick crew members in foreign ports without a second thought. After experiencing that kind of betrayal, joining pirates didn't seem evil. It felt like justice. Adventure seekers found pirate crews irresistible too. These weren't all desperate men running from poverty. Some were skilled sailors who craved excitement over security. The Caribbean was full of stories about legendary captains like Blackbeard and Bartholomew Roberts living larger than kings. Young men dreamed of earning their own fearsome reputations on the high seas. Let's not forget that many volunteers were already outlaws anyway. Deserters from navies, escaped indentured servants, and men wanted for various crimes saw pirate ships as perfect hiding spots. Why worry about breaking more laws when you were already marked as a criminal? The recruiting process worked both ways, though. Pirates spread their own propaganda in ports, painting their lifestyle as glamorous and profitable. Tavern stories grew wilder with each telling. Makes sense, right? Every crew needed fresh blood, so current pirates became walking advertisements for their cause. Of course, not everyone who volunteered understood what they were really signing up for, but for those who did make it through the brutal realities ahead, the choice often started with a simple decision to bet everything on freedom and fortune. Whether they'd survive long enough to enjoy either was another question entirely. Not every pirate crew member chose their new career path. Sometimes the choice was made for them at the wrong end of a cutlass. When pirates captured a merchant vessel, they didn't just grab the cargo and sail away. They studied the crew like shoppers at a market. The captain might be tossed overboard, but that skilled carpenter, the ship's surgeon, the cook who actually knew how to prepare salt pork without poisoning everyone, these men suddenly found themselves with a very different job offer. This practice had a name, impressment. Sounds fancy, but it basically meant join us or swim with the fishes. Pirates weren't running a charity. They needed specific skills to keep their floating death traps seaworthy. Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, once captured a merchant ship and immediately spotted their surgeon. The man probably thought his medical training would save him from pirate violence. Well, he was right and wrong. Blackbeard forced the doctor to join his crew, and the poor fellow spent months patching up pirates instead of respectable merchants. The weird part is, many pressed men eventually adapted to pirate life better than expected. Carpenters were golden prizes during these ship takeovers. A skilled woodworker could repair battle damage, fix leaky hulls, and keep cannons mounted properly. Pirates would literally fight over a good carpenter. Makes sense when your life depends on wooden planks staying together in a storm, but forced recruitment wasn't foolproof. Some pressed men waited for their chance to escape at the next port. Others sabotaged their captors when opportunity arose. Then there were those who pretended to embrace pirate life while secretly planning revenge. Trust issues ran deep on pirate ships, especially with new crew members who hadn't exactly volunteered. The 1720s saw ship takeovers reach their peak, which meant more forced recruitment than ever before. Pirates grew bolder about grabbing entire crews if they liked what they saw. Why negotiate with one sailor when you could press 10? Yet, here's the thing about forcing someone into piracy. It created complicated loyalty problems. A man pressed into service might work hard and follow orders, but would he stand firm during a Navy attack? Would he share intelligence about valuable targets or keep his mouth shut when questioned by authorities? These trust issues shaped how pirate crews operated internally. They needed systems to keep everyone in line, ways to ensure that pressed men became true pirates instead of just prisoners with jobs. And that's where pirate democracy became surprisingly important for crew survival. Getting forced onto a pirate ship wasn't exactly like joining a regular crew. These weren't Navy vessels where captains barked orders and everyone jumped without question. Pirates had something most people don't expect. They voted on stuff. Most pirate crews actually got to decide whether new members could stay or had to go. Wild, right? Even when someone got pressed into service after their merchant ship got captured, the existing crew would often hold a vote. They'd size up the newcomer, check if he seemed trustworthy, and then cast their votes. Democracy at sea, with cutlasses and cannons. The whole system came down to pirate codes. These weren't suggestions written on scraps of paper. They were serious agreements that spelled out how everything worked. Fair shares of treasure, equal treatment, and most importantly, everyone's rights on board. Break the code and you might find yourself marooned on some tiny island with nothing but a pistol and one shot. But here's what made pirate ships different from everything else floating on the ocean. Equality actually meant something. A former slave could end up with the same voting power as a nobleman's son who'd run away to sea. The same share of loot, the same say in major decisions. Try finding that kind of setup anywhere else in the 1700s. Then there's the discipline angle. Navy ships were brutal. Captains could have men flogged for tiny infractions. Merchant vessels weren't much better, with officers treating regular sailors like dirt. Pirates? They had rules, sure, but they also had something revolutionary. The crew could vote out a captain who got too harsh or too greedy. Fighting among crew members was usually forbidden by these codes. Smart rule when everyone's armed and tensions run high during long voyages. Some codes even protected payouts, making sure nobody could cheat others out of their rightful share. Breaking these agreements meant serious consequences, but at least everyone knew the rules going in. The weird part is how well this system worked for recruitment. Word spread that pirate ships treated men fairly, at least compared to other options available to common sailors. When you're stuck choosing between brutal Navy discipline, merchant ship poverty, or pirate democracy with profit sharing, the choice becomes pretty obvious. Of course, voting someone in was just the first step. Pirates needed specific skills to survive, and not everyone who wanted to join actually had what it took to make it in this dangerous world. Not every sailor could make the cut as a pirate. These weren't desperate men grabbing anyone with a pulse. Pirates had standards, and those standards could mean the difference between a successful raid and ending up fish food. Sailing skills topped every pirate's wish list. A man who couldn't tie proper knots or read the wind patterns was about as useful as a wooden leg in a swimming contest. Navigation became absolutely critical when you're hundreds of miles from shore with no friendly ports to guide you home. The best pirates could splice rope, patch sails, and work the rigging even during a storm. These weren't skills you picked up overnight. But here's where it gets interesting. Pirates didn't just want skilled sailors, they needed fighters. When cannons started firing and cutlasses came out, technical knowledge meant nothing if you froze up. Courage under pressure separated the wheat from the chaff. A man might know every rope on the ship, but if he hid below deck during battle, he wouldn't last long with any self-respecting pirate crew. Physical strength mattered too, though not always in obvious ways. Young, healthy men could handle the backbreaking work of hauling heavy cannons and loading cargo during raids. Yet pirates also valued experience and cunning over raw muscle. An older sailor who knew merchant shipping routes or could identify valuable cargo from a distance brought something special to the table. Then there's reputation. Word traveled fast in the sailing world, and pirates paid attention to stories about potential recruits. Had this man stood his ground in previous fights? Could he be trusted when things got ugly? A reputation for betraying shipmates was basically a death sentence in pirate recruitment. The weird part is how little pirates cared about things that mattered everywhere else. Your nationality, your accent, your family background, none of that counted for much. What mattered was whether you could do the job and watch your crewmates' backs. A Spanish sailor, an English carpenter, and a Scottish gunner could all serve side by side if they proved their worth. Some captains looked for specialists too. A man who understood medicine could save lives after battles. Someone who spoke multiple languages proved invaluable when dealing with captured ships from different countries. Carpenters and blacksmiths were worth their weight in gold for keeping ships seaworthy and weapons sharp. But all these qualifications meant nothing without one final requirement that trumped everything else. Pirates needed absolute loyalty to their chosen crew because betrayal at sea didn't just cost money, it cost lives. When most ships treated black sailors like dirt, pirate crews offered something radical for the 1700s. Equal shares, full voting rights, the chance to rise through the ranks based on skill alone. Escaped slaves found refuge aboard pirate vessels where their past didn't matter. What mattered was whether you could handle a cutlass, navigate by the stars, or patch up holes in the hull during a storm. Black Bart Roberts had several black crew members who earned the same cut of treasure as everyone else. Try finding that arrangement on a merchant vessel. Then there's the story of Black Caesar. This former slave became one of Blackbeard's most trusted lieutenants, commanding respect from hardened pirates who'd gut you for looking at them wrong. Caesar wasn't just muscle either. He helped plan raids and manage captured goods. His skin color meant nothing when Spanish gold was on the line. But here's where it gets interesting. Some black pirates weren't escaped slaves at all. Free black sailors joined crews voluntarily, drawn by the promise of better treatment than they'd face anywhere else. Diego Grillo sailed with Henry Morgan's fleet, earning his share of loot from raids on Spanish settlements. The weird part is, Grillo probably made more money in a year of piracy than he could earn in 5 years on legitimate ships. Pirates needed every capable hand they could find, and they couldn't afford the luxury of racial prejudice when facing naval patrols or rival crews. A black gunner who could load cannons fast might save your life. A black navigator who knew Caribbean waters could mean the difference between treasure and drowning. Let's not forget that pirate democracy extended to everyone aboard. Black crew members voted on major decisions just like their white shipmates. They helped choose new captains, approved articles of agreement, and decided punishment for rule breakers. This level of equality was unheard of in the colonial world. Of course, not every pirate ship was a beacon of racial harmony. Some crews still held prejudices, and black pirates faced dangers beyond the usual risks of pirate life. Getting captured meant possible return to slavery, not just hanging. Still, for men seeking freedom and fortune, pirate ships offered opportunities that existed nowhere else in their world. The Brotherhood of the Black Flag judged you by your courage and cunning, not the color of your skin. Speaking of brotherhood, joining any pirate crew required more than just showing up with a sword and a smile. Joining a pirate crew wasn't like filling out a job application. Once the captain and crew decided you were worthy, the real ceremony began. Most pirate ships had their own twisted version of a swearing-in process that would make your grandmother faint. The pirate oath came first. New recruits had to swear loyalty to the ship, the crew, and most importantly, the articles they'd all agreed to follow. These weren't fancy words written on parchment either. Pirates kept things simple and direct. You promised not to steal from your shipmates, not to desert during battle, and to follow orders when things got dangerous. Break these rules? Well, let's just say the punishment made walking the plank look like a vacation. Then there's the drinking ritual. Pirates loved their rum, and sharing a bottle with new crew members sealed the deal. Everyone gathered around as the fresh recruit took a long swig and passed it along. This wasn't just about getting drunk together, though that certainly happened. Sharing rum meant you were now part of the Brotherhood. You'd earned the right to claim your share of whatever treasure came next. Some captains got creative with their initiation ceremonies. New pirates might receive nicknames that stuck for life. Pegleg Pete probably didn't start with that name, but after one too many sword fights, the moniker made perfect sense. These nicknames weren't insults either. They were badges of honor that showed you'd survived long enough to earn a reputation. The really serious crews handed out physical markers of membership. Gold earrings were popular among pirates, and not just for fashion. They believed pierced ears improved eyesight, which came in handy when spotting enemy ships on the horizon. Some captains even encouraged tattoos, though getting inked on a rocking ship with crude tools took real commitment to the cause. Loot distribution got hammered out during these ceremonies too. Before any raid, pirates agreed on exactly how treasure would be split. The captain usually got 2 shares. Skilled crew members like surgeons or navigators earned 1.5, and regular pirates received 1 full share each. Everything was decided beforehand to avoid bloody arguments later. But here's what made pirate initiation different from joining any other crew. Once you took that oath and shared that rum, there was no easy way out. You were committed to a life that most people wouldn't survive a month doing. The question becomes, what happened to pirates who couldn't handle the reality of their dangerous new career choice? Life as a pirate wasn't exactly the glamorous adventure Hollywood makes it out to be. Most crews faced a grim reality that would make even the toughest sailors think twice about hoisting the black flag. Disease topped the list of killers aboard pirate ships. Scurvy rotted teeth and made men too weak to fight. Yellow fever could wipe out half a crew in weeks. Without proper doctors or medicine, a simple cut could turn deadly. Pirates lived in cramped, filthy conditions where sickness spread faster than gossip in a small town. Then there's the violence that came with the territory. Battle wounds were common, but internal conflicts proved just as dangerous. Cross the wrong crew member or challenge the captain's authority, you might find yourself marooned on a deserted island with nothing but a pistol and 1 shot. That wasn't just a threat in the movies, it actually happened. The legal system showed zero mercy to captured pirates. Between 1710 and 1730, authorities hanged over 400 pirates in the Americas alone. These weren't quiet executions either. Officials made public spectacles out of them, displaying bodies in iron cages as warnings to other would-be pirates. The message was crystal clear. Choose piracy, and you're choosing death. Naval patrols grew more sophisticated and aggressive throughout the golden age of piracy. Warships actively hunted pirate vessels, and bounties on famous captains' heads reached astronomical amounts. Running from the law became a full-time job that left little energy for actual pirating. Weather in the sea itself killed more pirates than sword fights ever did. Hurricanes in the Caribbean could sink entire fleets. Navigation errors led ships onto deadly reefs. Even experienced sailors found themselves at the mercy of storms that lasted for days. But here's the thing. Some pirates did beat the odds. A lucky few accumulated enough wealth to buy pardons or retire to remote islands. Others switched sides and became pirate hunters themselves, using their knowledge to track down former colleagues. Smart pirates knew when to quit while they were ahead. The constant turnover meant captains were always recruiting new crew members, creating an endless cycle of desperate men joining up for quick riches. Most discovered too late that pirate life offered more hardship than treasure. The average pirate career lasted less than 2 years before ending in death, capture, or desertion. Despite the myths and legends, the pirate's life was brutal, short, and rarely rewarding. The romantic image we have today couldn't be further from the harsh reality these men faced every single day.